Our social affairs editor Jackie Long reporting from Teesside. Well, earlier I spoke to the Employment Minister, Chris Grayling, and I put it to him that the letter sent to claimants suggested that the scheme, pretty plainly, was not a voluntary one.
Well, no, I mean, I've said this time and again, and I said it to you on Channel 4 News a week ago. The way the scheme works is this, that first of all, it's purely voluntary. Nobody has to take part. Nobody who doesn't agree to take part ever receives a letter from us. But we are obliged under the terms of past job seekers legislation to simply set out to somebody in a letter what law applies to the situation they're in.
But this letter makes absolutely clear, the letter makes absolutely clear that if you fail to start, you could get your benefits docked. Do you accept that now?
No, the rules for this scheme are absolutely clear, that you have a week to opt out without any consequences. After that, you can face a sanction. We don't sanction very many people at all on this. So
but you don't have a week. If you fail to start, you get your benefits docked potentially. You don't have a week's cooling off period.
Very clear, there is a week's cooling off period in this scheme where there is no question of anybody facing a sanction. I've been clear about that all along. That is the way this scheme works.
So the letter is misleading then? Either the letter is misleading or you're misleading.
Well, do you have a case and a letter in front of you that I haven't seen?
The letter is a standard letter sent out by your department. They've confirmed that to us. We've seen more than one of these letters. It's a standard letter sent out up and down the country.
Well, let me ask you the question. I mean, it could be related to a scheme which has a training module attached. We certainly do mandate people to training courses, and if they don't turn up, then if somebody's been mandated to a training course,
it relates specifically to the government's work experience scheme. The letter we've got here relates to the ASDA work experience scheme. It says if you fail to start, you fail to go or stop going, any future payments of job seekers allowance could cease to be payable. There's nothing voluntary about that, is there?
Let's be absolutely clear. The scheme is voluntary. No letter would ever go to anybody for a start who hadn't actually volunteered to start the scheme. And let's be absolutely clear. And many of the people who've talked about it, many of the young people who've talked about it in the last week have said very clearly, we say you have a week to opt out. And if you opt out in the first week, there is no question of you being sanctioned.
We're being told up and down the country, no one who goes for these work experience schemes are being told that it's voluntary. They're being told it's mandatory in many instances.
Cathy, I'm afraid that's simply not true. This scheme is voluntary. Nobody would even receive a letter from us if they weren't taking part. They have the choice of taking part. I'm sure you're not telling me that I'm not telling you the truth. I'm looking you in the eye through the camera and I'm saying to you, this is a voluntary scheme. And the whole benefit of this, employers don't want to take people who are forced labour. We couldn't refer people on a mandatory basis to big companies, even if we wanted to, because why would a big company want to take someone who wasn't interested in working for them?
You'll ask your department to get the job centres to withdraw this letter, will you, just to make absolutely clear that the scheme's voluntary?
Look, I haven't seen a letter that you've got. I need to be certain that I know what scheme it applies to.
Your department's confirmed it's a standard letter.
But let's be clear, this is a voluntary scheme.
Chris Grayling speaking to me earlier.